Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Art 186, Computer Graphics with Adobe Illustrator for the spring semester 2022. Before I begin working on combining shapes, which is lesson 4, and I've already shown you a variety of ways of doing that, and it's just, but I'm going to add to the different ways that I've shown you. And also depart from the textbook a little bit and show you how I would do some of the things differently than they've done it. Before I do, though, we had a question about how do we get using the live paint bucket to get from here to here. And you were having trouble with these guys over here, the little triangles. And I think that's pretty straightforward, but we'll see. I mean, I had to play with it a minute myself. So the first thing that I want to do is I need to make a copy of this purple triangle here. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to click and drag, hold down the Shift key and the Option key. And when it touches, and I see the center selected below, I have Smart Guides turned on. I can release the mouse and then release the Option and the Shift key. The Shift constrains the movement. The Option allows me to make a copy of it. Okay. So next thing that I want to do is I want to take these two elements and so I held down the Shift key to do that. You can click to make sure that both are selected. And now I want to rotate them so that they appear at the bottom and then make a copy of them. So I'm going to use the rotation tool. And what I want to do, by default, the center of rotation is the center of the object, but I want it to be the center of rotation to be the center of this little diamond shape down here. So I'm going to hold down the Option key and click. And what that does is it brings up a little dialog box, and I want it to rotate 180 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click on and off preview so we can see what I've done here. Okay, but instead of clicking OK, I want to select copy. Boom. So now I have a duplicate of it. But how do I get from this now, these separate shapes, to be able to combine them and using Live Paint to get these results over here? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out first a little bit. And then I'm going to, with the selection tool, I'm just going to select the whole thing. So everything is selected in here. You have to do it that way? No, but why not? Since we're turning it into a Live Paint series of shapes, we can do that. And I can go up to Object now, and I can come down to Live Paint and select Make. Okay, now I want to be able to select the palette for that. So if I select the shapes here and I roll over some of these, you can see that it's allowing me to, when it highlights in this pink or reddish color, I can change the colors of those very quickly, very easily. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to bring up the swatch panel, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with the orange color right here and move this over. And when I move over the top one, I can click and change that. When I highlight over the bottom one, I can change that. That works really nice. And now you'll see that I'm having sort of difficulty moving over the little triangles. A way to resolve that is to zoom in. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select, I mean, I guess I could scroll through it, but I'm going to select the yellow one, come over here, and now you'll see it works. Move over this one and it works. So if you zoom out and it can't detect the separate shapes, then you have a bit of a problem. That was what I discovered the other day, that I just had to zoom in to make it work better. Now you'll notice that they have clipped part of this, and you can see that it's broken it down into all these separate shapes. So now what I can do is I can select this, I think it's this color right here, the salmon color. And again, I can move over this shape, and there we go. And it blends with the background. move over this color and then this color, this shape. And there you go, we're done. Pretty cool, don't you think? Live Paint was created quite a while ago, and it was designed, I think, because the first lessons that they had on this was if you had maybe something similar to a comic book, and so that there would be a pretty limited palette. It would be flat two-dimensional shapes you would use, and then a quick way of filling and colorizing artwork. So in the past, when animators would work, or the people who worked on comic books and that sort of thing, there would be inkers and painters. There would be the people who would draw and work on the comic books or in animation. And they would be, for example, the animators that would do the initial drawings and light blue, non-repro blue pencils. And then the inkers would come back in, and on top of that, they would refine and ink the outline. And then you have the painters that would paint the inside. Well, now, rather than break it down into three, you could have it all be done by one person, or maybe two people at the very most, and then you could come back in and you could very quickly fill and make changes. Now, if you wanted to change this to different colors, it's very easy. We could switch to a different palette. We can come back in here, let's say green. Okay, and I can move over that shape, and I can that. So I'm just moving over them and changing the colors without having to select objects, because it's Live Paint. Now, another thing, I'm jumping ahead with this exercise here, as this isn't until lesson 8. But I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to create a new artboard. So let's go ahead over here and create a brand new one and show you basically what this does, because there are other benefits to using Live Paint. But again, it has its limitations. It really works best with flat two-dimensional illustrations or designs. So what I'm going to do now is really something very simple. I'm just going to go ahead and under the basic shapes, I'm going to select the ellipse tool, and I'm going to go ahead and create a simple ellipse. We'll just use that green. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and make a copy of it. So hold down the Option key, and also maybe the Shift key, and overlap them. And I'm going to make this one red. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to be able to create the illusion that they're overlapped, and I get maybe kind of a brownish color, because for those of you who've had color theory, green and red are complementary colors. And if you mix the two, they would sort of turn brown. Or you could also take the red and you could make it translucent, or somewhat transparent, and see through the green, which will give you a similar effect. So how to do that, if you select both of these, let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit so we can see a little bit better. I could select both of these. I'm just clicking and dragging around them too. And we go to Object, Live Paint, Make. Live Paint, Make. There we go. So that's a Live Paint. Now we can go ahead and we can select the Live Paint bucket. And I can notice that as I move over the center shape, it allows me to select a different color. So maybe instead of the red, I can select kind of a tan color here, like so. And if you're wondering, well, what's the advantage to that? That let's say later on you need to move the shape a little bit. So I'm going to use the Group Selection tool. I'm going to select one of the shapes, and come on. Oh, never mind. I forgot. I have to use the Live Paint Selection tool. Never mind. And that allows me to select one of these shapes. Come on. Well, let me go ahead and try again. I'm telling you, there we go. So now I've used my Group Selection tool. Notice as I move this around, it redraws my my shapes. The problem is as soon as you pull them apart, it's still a live paint group. And when you move them back together, it doesn't work. So again, I would have to select them again, select the whole thing like so. And then I would go back to object and I would go to live paint. And I would say release so that it's no longer a live paint and I could go back and redo it again. So I could select individual shapes, colorize them again, there's a color, select this one, here's another color. Come on. There we go, another color. And again, go over the two, select both of them, turn it into a live paint object, live paint, make. Okay, now I could select with my live paint bucket, go over the center shape and let's fill it with a red or something, I don't know. There you go. And again, with that shape over that, we could go ahead and I'm going to try again. I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to say live paint selection. So I've selected this and I'm going to, with that fill, let's try and change the opacity of it. See what happens. No, not a thing. So I would probably have to say, do that from the get-go. I obviously don't use this tool that much, but it is pretty cool. I just haven't had any need for it. So live paint selection. So let me double click. No, it's not allowing me to, well, with doing that, let me try the opacity again. Well, let me try and fill it with that opacity. No, it's not working. So we have to do something a little different. And that leads me into the next part of our lesson. Okay. Any questions before I move on? Anyway, that's live paint. There's a lot more that you can do with it. And again, that's covered in a lesson that we'll work on in a couple weeks, probably. It's lesson 8. That was something that I think Arturo wanted me to cover. Does that answer your questions, Arturo? You good with that? Is it working for you now? Okay, yeah, give it a try. Okie doke. So I'm going to close this file because I've got a whole bunch of them open and I don't want to save it. Let's start with lesson 4 here. Different ways of combining shapes. And I've already done that, but they have their little dinosaur image here they want us to work on. So this was the start file. Let's look at the end file. So you can see that we've taken all these shapes and we've created these different dinosaurs here, different critters in different ways. And I've already shown you the tools, and my favorite one here is it's hidden under here, and it's the shape builder tool right here. It's under the same tool as the live paint. It's this one right here though. Okay, so if you want to pull any of these off, you'll notice that a number of these tools have little tick marks in the lower right-hand corner. That just means that there are more tools hidden underneath. And then if you move your mouse over to the right, you can tear them off so that if you plan on using them for a while, you can see them. So that's what this looks like when it's all done. In this particular exercise, though, I'm going to do a few things a little bit differently than the way they've approached them, some of them anyway. So let's go back to the start file. And let's go back up here to this one. Now, one of the things that they've done here is they've shown us how to use, hold on, I have No, they want us to start with this one, the middle one. Why, I don't know. But that's okay. What they want us to do is to create, it's a different kind of shape. It is, again, I don't like using them because I have to remember to expand it when I do it, but it's a compound shape, I think. So for example, if I come back here with this tool, with the move tool, and I move it over the center, and I'm using smart guides to help me center it. And I want to poke a hole through the yellow. What I can do is I can now deselect that and I can select both. And with both of them selected, I can go to Object and I can come down here to Compound Path and select Make. And what that does is that pokes a hole through it. That's one way of doing it. And another way of making sort of a compound path is to put that back over again, select them both, and we can use the Shape Builder tool. And I can, again, either group them together, which I don't want to do, but if I hold down the Option key, that turns it into a minus. So it's going to subtract this middle, and I get basically the same results. What you want to do, though, is that anytime you do that, you want to make sure that under layers, you take note of what you're doing here. That this is, in fact, if I select this, let me go back here and select it using the selection tool. Let's scroll down and let's see. There we go. If I click in here, okay, this is a completed path. It's not a compound path. So what that means is with a compound path, I can always undo it. But I could undo this anyway. And again, that's what I'm saying. Think about working non-destructively. And what I could do is I could hold down the Option or Alt key and I can make a copy of this and put it to the side and put it in my artboard. And then I can select both of these again. Okay, use the Shape Builder tool and I could remove it. And then what I want to do is I want to go ahead and move this over. And if I ever needed to redo that, I could do that. Not have to rebuild the shapes. You know, they're just simple circles, so it's not a big deal right now. But now what I would probably want to do is, because I have the little highlights and I have the pupil and I have iris here, I have, you know, multiple shapes that I want to handle. I want to select them all, and I would probably want to group it so that it's all one element. And then with this selected, you can see that I can scroll down here and you can see that this is a group now. You can always remove the elements from the group if you want. You can add elements to the group. You can move elements within the group. It's up to you. Okay. The next thing that they have us do, which is a little convoluted, is that they want us to build this beak part here, or the front part of the mouth. What they've done here is they've selected the polygon tool, and by default, it comes up a hexagon. If I hold down the down arrow, I get a triangle, and I can go ahead and I'm going to hold down the Shift key to resize it, and then I'm going to hold down the space bar to move it into position here. And now I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. So it's about the same size as theirs. Again, now I hold down the space bar and I put it in place. So it's about the same width. Now I let go of the mouse. And then to get the same shape as theirs, I just go ahead and I move this down like so. And you can see that it's not quite the same. So now I can go ahead and I can resize this until it is. Okie doke. So now what I can do is we can use the Shape Builder tool to build all of this. Now, what we need to do, though, is we need to select all the shapes in order to do that. And now with the Shape Builder tool, we can go ahead and here, and notice as it highlights with the little screen, I can click and drag in here and combine these shapes like so. Okay. And now I want to get rid of these others. So I hold down the Option key and I click, and they're removed from the shape. Same here. Whoops. Yeah, there we go. And the same here. Come on. Maybe I didn't select it properly. Let me undo. Let's go back a couple steps. And let's try again. So I've got that shape. I'm going to go ahead and click and drag to highlight just these. What? No. I got to undo that. Let's go ahead and click and drag. So I've combined those two. And this one, I'm going to go back and to make sure that it's the same as theirs, I'm going to select this shape. And I don't want any fill, but I do want a stroke just to make sure that I can see this okay. Let's go back in here and let's pick that yellow color for the stroke. There we go. Okie doke. So I've got those selected. Now I can come back with the shape builder tool. Again, make sure that they're all selected. And again, I'm going to go ahead and hold down the Option key and click, or Alt key if you're on the PC, and move over it. So I've removed it. And now I've got this brand new shape here that is fairly complex and wouldn't be that easy otherwise to create. So if I move this out of the way, let me go ahead, and I didn't want to combine it. Let me undo that. I want to remove this shape from the, whoops. There we go. I want to get rid of this shape. And you can see that the little triangles here are part of that. So I may have goofed up here, but we'll see. I'm going to go ahead and let's remove this one. This is the one that they provided. But what I want to do now is I want to select this one and I want to select this one. Let's just select them all. Okay. And again, with the shape builder tool, I'll go ahead and hold down the Option key and click to remove it, click to remove it, click to remove it, and click to remove it. Now I have this brand new shape. This, to achieve any other way, would be a little bit difficult to do. Now I can use the Move tool and I can move it, move it in place. Okay. And if it's not going in the right position here, and if it's not the right color, then what you need to do, okay, let's look at the end one here to see what this is supposed to look like. Yeah, it's the wrong color. We want this brownish color in here. So now we can go back over here and we can select it, and we can select that little tan color. And for the stroke, I don't want any stroke, so I'll just make sure that that's selected none. But it's not in the right order. So anytime that happens, you have to bring up the Layers panel and see where it's located. And you can see that I have a couple of different shapes selected here. I don't want that. I just want this one selected. Okay. And now I can either move it from here, or I can use, I can move it downward like so. Another way to do that is to go to Object Arrange, and you can send it all the way to the back, bring it all the way to the front, or if I want to send it backward, I hit the Command key, or on the PC, the Control key with the left angle bracket. Now that should send it back. So I'm going to hit Command left, and I just keep hitting it until I get the right. See, now it's gone too far back. So now I'll bring it forward again. Let's see what it looks like, what it's supposed to look like again. We want that one more up here. No, let's go back. I want it in front of the teeth. So I guess I know, I don't have it. I have it too low. So I'm going to move it up. There we go. So move it into position and you're set to go. It's really, as I said, the shape builder tool is one of my favorite tools. hit my arrow keys to move it into place, and we're good to go. And likewise, we can go ahead and we can take the shape that we've created here, now that it's a group, move it over. And again, if you want, we can hold down the Option key and just make a copy of it, bring it over. I don't want to do that. Let me undo. Let's close that. Zoom out. Select this again. Hold down the Option key to make a copy of it, bring it over, put it in place, and now all we have to do is hit Option Shift and shrink it down to size. Move it in place, and again, if you find that you need to use the arrow keys to help you out, or you need to move it down a little bit, because if we look at the finished version here, you can see that those little eyes sit behind this brown shape here for a snout. So you have to move it backwards. And again, to make a copy of it, all we have to do is hold down the Option key and click and drag and hold down the Shift key, and it moves it directly over like so. And if you want, we can select both of these and we can hit Command. There we go. So I hit the Command key and the left bracket key and tapped on it a few times to make it sit behind that. So the way to think of these illustrations, again, I like thinking about them in literal terms, that if I were constructing my illustration out of construction paper, you actually have these physical shapes that you make out of paper that have to be layered one on top of another. And that's precisely what you're doing here. Okay. So there's that one. Now, the next one that we have here is down here to create this shape. And they've done the same sort of thing. They're combining all of them together. They've simply used ellipses, but what we're doing is we're selecting them all like so. And again, using the shape builder tool to click and drag across all of these, and you can just drag and create your combined shape, and there you have it. It's done. So let's go to the next one, and then we can use this one. I believe they're using. Let's go ahead and fill it. But for the next one, I would do it a little differently than the way they did it. So let's, they're reshaping a path. So, but in the meantime, though, I'm going to go ahead and select this one. And I'm going to make sure that I have no stroke. And we're going to select the fill. And it is, I believe, this one right here. So what they're doing here is with this shape is, if you want, we could use the curvature tool. That would be my favorite. And I would click over here to create a middle point. And that one would enable me to make any kind of curved path that I want. That works really nicely. And then I can go ahead and hit Command key and then release it. That works really, really nice. So that would be my approach. Now, if I want to make this into a slightly different width, then I would use the width tool, this one right here. And now we can go over this and I can click and drag, make this come to a point. Come on, there we go. And then I can pull in the middle and pull it out a little bit. And then I can move over the edge and I can click and I can drag it and I can pull it back in. So now it's more like a crescent shape. And if you want to come back over here, we can always pull this back out like so, and you can reconfigure it. Also, if you only want it to fill on or expand on one side, let me go ahead and do that again. If I move over that with the width tool here, and I hold down the Option or Alt key on the PC and I click and I drag, notice that it's only building on one side. Okay. If you move over it and you click and you drag, it's automatically building on both sides. And if you click over the edge and you move it back to a point, that's what it's doing there, or you're pulling it out, one of the two. That can be really, really a very effective tool, super effective. And if you recall from previous demonstration, what you can do with this is we can go ahead over here and I can, with this selected here, I can, at a later time, if I want to do something else with this, I would probably make a copy of it first. It took me a few steps to do this. So again, just put a copy to the side, select this one. And now what I can do is I can go to Object and I can go to Path and I can say Outline Stroke. Okay, so now this is a fill, it is not a stroke. Again, when I select this one, you'll notice in this watch panel, this in fact is a stroke with no fill. By outlining the stroke, it turns this whole path into a shape. So now I have no stroke, but I have a fill. So depending on what you want to do with it is how you would work with that. So again, we're kind of filling in the shapes here. And I can go ahead here and I can move this over like so. And then we have this one. I guess these are filled with black. These shapes. So I don't know whether they are or they aren't, really doesn't matter, but you get the idea. Let's go ahead and make that no stroke. So make sure the fill is selected and make it black. And I can move this into position like so. That's kind of what they want. Let's close this. I'll make it a little bit smaller, and then we can flip it. Okay. So again, that works pretty nicely. And then like we've done before, because we're mirroring it, and remember, because it is a shape, I can tweak it in any number of different ways. You know, reconfigure it. Always, always, always. Okay. Now, maybe it would work better as a path. So let's move that over. Let's click this over like so. Put it in position. Let's go ahead and resize it like so. But now, instead of changing the fill, I'm going to change the stroke of it. So that's too big. And it's probably snapping to this shape here. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to reduce the size of it a little, move it over like so. That's fitting pretty well. And now what I can do is, instead of changing the fill, I'm going to change the stroke and I'll make it black. And now to duplicate it on the other side, we're going to go ahead and underneath the rotate tool, we're going to select the reflect tool, and then somewhere in the middle here, I'm going to hold down the Option key and click, and it makes a copy of it. And now I'm going to go ahead and copy. So I kind of shortened my workload there. Okie doke. So what else do we have here? Let me zoom out. We also have this guy up here. So the one that I want, one of the things that I wanted to show you here is that one of the things that they've done in here is that if they've used the eraser tool to make some of these shapes, that if I click in here, we can see that this is just a big path. And I can click and I can drag and I can move that around. Now, the eraser tool right here, we can change the size of this by hitting the right bracket key or the left bracket key to increase or decrease the size. And now what we're doing is we're moving it over in position, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click, and it doesn't do a thing. Okay, so what it does, instead of a path, this needs to be a fill in order for this to work, but the eraser tool can't erase this. So what I need to do is I need to select the shape, this path. And again, if I want to make sure that everything is really in place and I don't need to do anything more with it, I'm going to go ahead and hold down the Option key and make a copy of it, move it over to the side, go back and select this one and go to Option and go back to Path and say that I want to expand it. Let's go back to Outline Stroke. And now let's go ahead and move this out of the way. Now, when I select the eraser tool and I move over the edge here like so, come on, come on, come on. Why? Oh, because I got the wrong path selected. Never mind. That's why. Select the eraser tool, move over it. Notice how it cuts it away. So if you click and you drag, you're creating any number of shapes by doing it that way. And to understand that, what I've done is I've now created two shapes and I've affected this one here. So if I hit Command Y, you can see that they're totally separate shapes now. So if you feel comfortable, and there's another way of doing this too. Let me go ahead and hit Command Y again. Is that if you want, since this is a filled shape, instead of that, we can also use something called the blob tool. And that should be, it's not there. Where did they put it? They keep changing it. There we go. It's underneath the brush tool. I'm going to select the blob tool here. So if you have the same fill, so I'm going to make sure that no shape is selected. Or actually, what I'll do is I'll select this shape here. I change, and we see that we have a purple fill. And now what I can do with the blob tool is I can come in here and I'm going to go ahead and change the size of the brush. And I can begin to, no, come on. Let's go ahead and make it a little bit bigger. There we go. So now the brush is much bigger. And now I can go ahead with the blob tool selected. I can click and drag over this and I can draw. And I can continue to draw and do any, I'm just scribbling in here now. But watch what happens when I hit Command Y. It's actually turned this into more of a free form shape. There you go. And again, I can go back with the eraser tool and I can erase from it. So I can go back with the eraser tool and erase like so. I can erase like so. And I'm creating some really complex shapes, more organic kind of compound shapes than what we had before using both the blob and the eraser tool. I would do this project a little bit differently than what they did. And I'm going to go ahead and show you that now. To create the little scallops out of this. Now they wanted more of a natural kind of look, and so they went ahead with the eraser tool and put that in there, but I'm going to do it a little bit differently. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go back here and undo all of that and bring that a shape. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead with the ellipse tool. Let's go ahead and click under here, select the ellipse tool. And I'm going to move over the edge here, and with the Option key and the Shift key, I'm going to click and drag like so. And move it along that path. And just so that you can see what I'm doing a little bit better, let's make it yellow so I can see this. And I'm going to go ahead and move it with my arrow keys a little bit. And I'm going to move it up and over like so. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat that shape again and again and again, all the way around. So by doing that, I'm going to go ahead with the the rotate tool. And this is how I do it a little bit differently that I think would go quicker. And it would be a little bit more accurate. So again, I'm going to go ahead and use the ellipse tool or the rotate tool. It should be under here, under the reflect. I'm going to use rotate. And I'm going to hold down, move over the center of that, and I'm going to hold down the Option key and click. Now, I don't want it to rotate 180 degrees. I only want it to rotate maybe 15 degrees. So let's turn that off. Let's move this to see. So let's turn that back on. Nope. How about 30 degrees? There we go. So now what I can do is I can select copy. So now I have two, and now I can hit Command D and keep repeating that all the way around. And now what I can do is I can select all of these shapes just by clicking and dragging around them. And we can use the Shape Builder tool, which, as I said multiple times, is my favorite tool. We can hold down the Option key and we can click and drag and around all of these, and we can create our little scallop shape. So this is how I would do it. You want to create a gear or something like that. Same deal. Whoops. There you go. So that can be moved into place. Let me see what this one looks like again. We've got that, and we have that other shape there. So let's go back. Let's move this into place. I didn't want to do that. Let's go back here. Move it into position behind everything. I probably don't want those shapes down there, but that's okay, because I could go back and I could erase those shapes. And I can move this shape into position like so. And another thing that they've done, another way of using the eraser tool, which I think was pretty smart, is that if you select the shape like the nose and you want to cut it off, you just want to slice part of it off, use the eraser tool, hold down the Shift key, and let's make it a little bit smaller. Hold down the Shift key and then draw across like so, and it just cuts across it with a straight line and creates a brand new shape. Very, very nice. There are these newer tools using the blob brush, using the eraser, using the Shape Builder tool, using the width tool, are all really, really good ways of taking basic shapes and creating much more complex shapes. Now, in addition to that, I'm going to show you just a couple more things and then we'll call it a day. There's also the Shape Builder tool is sort of an advanced or newer version of something that they used to call the Pathfinder tool. So for example, if I went ahead and with my shape here, let's go back to the star shape, and I'm going to make a triangle again. So I'm going to hold down Shift key and I'm going to move it into place like so. Let's say I wanted to divide that shape up and to create a multiple color in here. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the straight line tool like so, and hold down the Shift key and move it across. Now I'm going to hold down with the selection tool. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a copy of it like so. Whoops, come on. Let me move that over so it's centered a little bit better, just so I can see what I'm doing here. And let's go ahead and the stroke. Oh, no wonder I can't see it. The stroke is none. I'm going to make it black just so I can see. And we're going to go ahead and make it a little bit fatter, just for the heck of it. There we go. So now when I copy it, I'll go ahead and drag it like so. And I'm going to drag it like so, and drag it like so. Okay. Now, if I wanted to subdivide this into different shapes so that I could fill it, that triangle with, inside the triangle with different colors, solid colors like that, I could go ahead and select them all. And now I can go up to window and select Pathfinder. And now we'll have some options here. Let me go ahead and make sure that I have Pathfinder options. I want to make sure they're all here. And what I want to select is the one right here that should be, no, this one. I'm going to select outline. Let's try this one. I'm going to go ahead and cancel. And this should be, yeah, outline. When I click that, you'll see that it looks like nothing has happened. But if I hit Command Y and I look at this, I can select each one of these shapes separately. And let's go back and use the fill bucket here. Let's go back and hit Command Y again. Let me undo this again. I should probably, let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and select fill again. There we go. And now what I can do is I can select each one of these independently. Let's use the group selection tool. No, let's select again. Let me see if I can't, with one of these selected, so I can see it a little bit better. Select in here. Let's make fill green. There we go. So I can see this a little bit better. And now what I want is if I select in here, no, it's not working for me. Well, I'm telling you what a great tool this would have been. So let's try that again. Let's go ahead and outline. All right, now hit Command Y. No, it's not working the way I had planned. Oh, well, I'll show you this another time. I was hoping that this would work. Let's go ahead and select in there. Select the fill. No, it's not working the way I hoped. Let me try one more time. Now I'm really frustrated. Let's go ahead and change the stroke a little bit. Make it black again. Change the size of it so I can see it a little bit better. And I'm going to go ahead and make copies of it. Like so. Make sure they're all selected. And let's try again. Instead of that, how about if I use a merge? No, that isn't working either. I was right. I do select the outline tool, but it should cut away the outside paths and leave the inside for me to be able to fill with different colors. So let me try one more time. It's sort of working and sort of not. Now with the, now let's go ahead and select a fill. There we go. So now it's subdividing like I had thought. Let's go ahead and select another one. But these paths are not going away. So with the group selection tool, I guess I do need to come back here and I need to select individual. Before they just went away by themselves, I thought, but it has been a while since I've used them. So now we can go ahead and select this shape in here. Let's go ahead and select this one. And let's select it with another color. No, not working. But you get the idea. Not the way I had planned. So maybe it would be better just to use the shape builder tool or something like that. But this is an old school way of doing it. And I thought maybe it would work better. And it's not for me, but you can begin to see how I can fill individual. It did cut the paths away. And that's kind of nice, but not the way I'd hoped. So I'll work on this. I decided to do it the last minute, and that's when I make big mistakes. So we'll try that again another time. Next time, I'm probably going to move on. I already covered transforming artwork, but I can cover those elements again. That's lesson 5. So I went ahead a little bit, and now I'm going back. And the next lesson is I'm going to work on lesson 6 on Thursday, which covers curves, creating curves with a curvature tool, which is really pretty nice. And I've talked about the curvature tool before. So that will work for us in a number of ways. I really like it a lot. That's another important tool. Okie doke. Do you have any questions before we leave today? Anybody? No, we all good? No? Okay, then I will post the video, mistakes and all. And I will work on that, just like I did with the other piece, and figure out what I was doing wrong. Then we'll fix it. Maybe I need to approach it slightly differently. It's not the way I remember it anyway. Okay, so I'm going to say, oh, question and answer. How many assignments are due or lessons are due? Again, you have until the end of the semester to complete lessons 1 through 14. And then, so as we're doing them now, follow the modules, and probably you should have lessons 4 completed, 1 through 4, maybe even 5. But the assignment that is due, so if I were to look at the assignment, the mask, that's the only assignment that's due, and that will be due. Yeah, it's due Thursday, February 3rd. Now, if you need more time, you need more time. Okay, and you will not be graded down for that. I would rather you spend more time and do a really good project rather than to rush it through just for the sake of getting it done. Okay. But I also caution you in spending too much time in getting it done, because then it's going to take away from the next assignment. And the next assignment, if I remember correctly, should be our Tokidoki assignment, which is basically to design a skateboard deck. And we'll talk about that more either Thursday or next week. Probably next week, I'll introduce it to you. But it could be Thursday, I don't know. Try to be a little bit flexible with all of this. Okay, but if I get feedback from you, say no, slow down, speed up, let me know. And that's what we'll do. And I showed you how we do things a little bit differently in here. And again, various ways of approaching it that are similar to what they're doing, but maybe a little bit different, just for you to become familiar with all the tools and decide for yourself which technique works best for you. Okay. So that's it. I hope you guys are having fun with the mask assignment and you're getting acclimated to working with Adobe Illustrator. It's a very powerful tool, extremely powerful. I think I mentioned early on in the semester, a few weeks ago, that it was originally developed to create mechanical drawings. So it took the place of using French curves and T-squares and compasses and things like that. But then over time, it has become so much more it is really a very powerful tool that can do a lot. And but all at the same time, they've added lots of tools and various techniques to it that didn't exist in 1988, 89 when the first version came out. So it takes a bit more to get up to speed with it than it used to. Okay, well, I'm going to say goodbye, and you guys are free to go. And I'm going to go ahead and have a good day. I'll stop sharing, and then I'll go ahead and I'll pause the recording, and we'll be done for today. Okay.